Good morning, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. It is another beautiful day. Even though it's raining outside, I still like to say it's a beautiful day. No complaints at all on my behalf. And overall, I must say it's been a wonderful weekend when it comes down to us fathers in the world. This weekend, yesterday was Father's Day, and again, I just want to say Happy Father's Day to all the wonderful fathers in the world. But yeah, welcome back to the closing table. I am James Garman.
This is Daniel White. Yeah, man, it was a good weekend, right? It
Yeah,
was
man, it was a great weekend.
a good weekend, and man, you've definitely had some storms here lately.
Oh, I heard Florida was really kicking butt this past weekend.
Yeah, it's crazy. I will tell you right now, we are muggy, my friend. It's that bad. It's muggy, but we did get some crazy rains this past weekend, which was
Really?
nice. So
Is it hurricane season? This is what they call hurricane.
whoa, stop that! Don't put a jinx on us here, man. Yes, we've got like two tropical depressions right now that are out there in the ocean there growing. They don't think that's going to come close to us, but they're watching it over the next 5 to 7 days. So it's already started, man. It's already started.
Got you. Okay. Well, I want to say good morning to everybody that's tuned in. Good morning, Dolores. Always bright and early and bushy-tailed on the show. Love having you tune in. Hey, Justin. Hey, how you doing there, brother? Welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in, showing some support this morning. I know you up coding. Then we got us, of course, saying, hey, good morning. B Walker, good morning. Good morning. And definitely make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification bell if you're on YouTube. And if you're on Facebook, be sure to share this with somebody that could use this, that could find this beneficial in some form or fashion. We're going to have a great topic today. So again, thank you all for tuning in, joining in. And
did you hit the gym? Did you hit the gym this morning, James?
Man, hells no, I didn't get up to 5:30. No gym for me this morning, but I'm definitely going to hit the gym this evening. It's definitely on the to-do list. So yeah,
no,
get back.
I got you, man. I was just asking because again, we talked briefly about it, man. The drive in to this morning was nice. There was hardly anybody on the roads. Say it again.
Did you get your workout in?
No, I did not get my workout in. No, I'll go in the afternoon, my friend. But yeah. We have our niece with us now for the summer here, and so she is dying to get on her bike and go for a bike ride. So it looks like I'm going to be chasing an 8-year-old down the neighborhood street. It's been a long time since I've done that, man.
Well, that sounds fun. There's going to be there's going to be an energetic workout. And again, I know we're going to be talking about fatherhood today. And before we get into that, but yeah, man, that drive in this morning, you said it was nice and breezy.
It was nice. It was nice, nice and muggy. It's muggy, man. It is bad. We'll probably get some afternoon showers. We got like 30% chance of rain across the state of Florida, and then tomorrow's like 60 or so. So it's coming. It's the typical summer weather, man. I don't mind it. It gets up to 95, 98 degrees out here, and then we get a nice storm to kind of cool things off or make it a little muggy. But
got you.
It happens. So
okay, understood. Well, with that being said, yes, we definitely have a great topic. And again, welcome everybody. Joyce, thank you for tuning in. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed this morning as well. Destiny, again, welcome everybody. Good morning. Great rising, rich rising, all the above. This morning we got an interesting topic, and I threw this on Daniel kind of late. So, but he's experienced in this topic, so it shouldn't be anything outside of his natural self. But overall, I since we had this since we've had multiple conversations, since we started this channel, Daniel, we've always talked about our kids. We've always had conversations about our children. We've always had an idea of what that success looked like for them. We've always had conversations wrapped around what we do as fathers, what we do as parents. But I think today I want to really focus on the disposable father concept, which means a lot of children are growing up without fathers. We live in a society where a lot of people, or most people, don't see the fathers as a fixture in the home or a necessity in today's society. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I mean, I definitely agree with that, right? Like it's happening. We have friends and stuff like that where a lot of single moms. I even know a couple single dads. Like I mean, good for those guys. But it's sad, man, because we've talked about education and the mindset of our up and coming children for teenagers turning into young adults, and you can definitely see when there's not a male figure there, and I'm not taking anything away from mothers or grandmothers and stuff like that, because there are amazing women out there that can take care of their kids all by themselves. But I do feel that seeing young men and young women without a father figure, it's a tough path. You have stats for that stuff, right?
Yeah, man, we definitely got some numbers we're going to go over when it comes to that, but we definitely want to get your opinion out there in the YouTube world, Twitter space. If you are dealing, or someone who's dealing with children as a single parent, especially as a single father, definitely jump into the comment section. Let us know what you are perceiving, what the experience is for you if you are in that situation. What is the experience like for you as a parent with both? I mean, or as a child with both parents, or you grew up with both parents, or you're a tandem team, a mother and father, or situation. You know what? And let me go ahead and put this disclaimer out here. I'm using traditional terminology in this conversation. So if you are easily offended that I'm not using mom and dad, please, by all means, have your frustration, but we're going with traditional terminology today, okay?
Yeah, we're not trying to make somebody's Monday holiday up. No,
so
we want to get you up, right? We
right.
want to get you to the closing table. Stop
Exactly.
it.
So I don't want you to feel like we're neglecting you in any sense, but just for today in this topic, we are having traditional conversation that's wrapped around the mother father aspect. And if you're too sensitive to have that conversation, then I just suggest you leave. But
Yeah,
if
I don't. I
not,
don't want any bad emails, man.
yeah,
I just want to get through today. That's it.
yes, indeed. Good morning, Isaac. Good morning, Isaac, as well. As I said, there's always been a huge misconception in taking care of children and raising them. Please, I totally agree with you on that, and definitely jump more into detail with that conversation, because it's definitely going to tie into what we're going to be talking about today, which is the disposable father. How important is fatherhood? Let me change that real quick, because I didn't realize I didn't change that headline. But yes, how important? First question, first of all, to you, Daniel. What is not what is? When did you become a father? When did you become a father? And before you give me that, I do want to say this right here. The terms father and dad both refer to a male parent, but there is a difference in the connotation overall. Father is more formal term and refers to the biological parent who shares DNA with the child. All right. Dad is a term of affection and familiarity, and it refers to a male parent who actively participates in the child's growth and development, giving love and affection. Which, while the dictionary gives almost the same meaning for both terms, the difference is cultural and invokes personal feelings, memories, and emotions. So I definitely want to put that out there, because a lot of times I don't really think there can be a stepfather. We say the word stepfather, but it's really stepdad, and I know you mentioned that a minute ago, but overall is that a lot of men can be fathers and a lot of men can just be dads. So I wanted to make sure I gave that terminology based on what our Webster or our Wikipedia was, or our overall understanding of the two. So my first question to you, when did you become a father?
On a I don't know, probably like on a Thursday evening when I showed up to my beautiful wife's apartment, and I was thinking that we were calling it quits. I thought that was what it is, and I got a postcard that that she was pregnant, and at that moment, James, I basically said I won't miss any doctor's appointments. I'll be at every pediatrician's visit. You'll never have to worry about me not having your back or our children's back. And so that was in 2002, my friend.
So when you got that news, what is if you can recall, was
Oh
it
yeah.
was it scary? Was it nervous? Was it let me reflect to my childhood and not be the father my father was? Like what was encompassed in all of that?
Absolutely, James, and I do remember it, right, because it was one of the most exciting moments of my life, right? At that moment, I was a bag full of emotions with, oh my God, I'm 24 years old. What am I doing? Do I know how to do this? I didn't really find my career path and all of that stuff. But I knew one thing at that moment is that I would never, ever turn my back on my child because of where I grew up and, the people that were with me, the people that were not with me as a child growing up and stuff like that. So, it was a big leap. It was a big, our parents were like, are you sure about this? Are you sure about this? And Destiny and I were like, no, this is a commitment. We're both committed to each other. And, we're going to continue to push forward and make this come true,
And
How about
again,
you?
no, and again, yes, I totally relate. And I tell, and it's weird to even say this today. I was 21, 20 going on 21, and me and my child's mother, we actually decided to have a child. Don't know why. I have no idea.
So you planned it.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
But the crazy thing is, you're 20, you fresh out of pretty much high school, and you're barely working, and you're thinking about planning a child because you've been with someone, you think you love them, and the overall expectations of, I guess, where I grew up was to you get out of school, you have children, and you go. I don't know,
You just
you
go to
live
work,
life.
right? Every single day.
Yeah, you live life. And that's what it was. And
And if you do that, James, when you turn 55, you can retire and you'll have this pension from the government and all of that good stuff, right?
all that good stuff, man.
That's how it works.
That's what the the theme of the whole um lifestyle was. So yeah, when she actually got pregnant, that's when it became real. I mean, the trying part was fun, but when they she actually had a got the pregnancy test and she was pregnant, it was like, oh, what the hell did I just do? Was this the right decision? And but it was a journey that taught me a lot. And I think overall, if you have that, whether you'd find out and it's like, oh, well, we didn't know we was working towards one, but we got one now, or we was working towards one and it becomes real. I think for a guy, it's a scary situation no matter what. Women, I think they are naturally nurturers in that sense. So for them, it's not as, you know, mind blowing when they actually find out they are, especially when they love the guy that they're with.
Yeah. Yeah. And I how can I say this? I think most women know right off the bat what type of father, potential husband, or so, they're having this child with. Again, there's an exception to the rule because things change later on in life and people, drift apart or stay together, stuff like that. But I think in the beginning, like when you and your child's mother decided to have a baby, I mean, you weren't thinking about anyone else outside of your relationship at that moment, right?
No,
You know what
it
I'm saying?
wasn't.
You were just focused on the two of you and having this baby. And so just like with us, it was just the two of us. But I think women do really have a good sense of, all right, this is going to be a long-term thing, or hey, this may be a short-term play if he doesn't change his ways or stuff like this.
Right. But they're still willing to have the child.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
still willing to have the child either way.
I think as guys, are just typical men. We're like, all right, we're gonna have this child. If it works out, it works out. It's not. It's not until it wasn't until I held my first child that I really, really knew what love was all about. I said it a whole bunch, but I never knew what true love was until I held our daughter. And then
Yeah,
again, it was reiterated 3 years later when our son was there. Like, I was like, man, how can I top that? Oh my God, I just had another one. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. I'm sorry. I think you're having camera issues,
We
but
are definitely having camera issues, but that's all right. It's a good thing that they didn't catch me with my finger in my ear or something like that,
okay,
James. So
got you.
can you
Just
hear me
wanted,
okay?
yeah. I just wanted to make sure. Just wanted to make
No,
sure.
I can see it. I was like, man, maybe I'm not moving at all. So we're good. Doesn't matter to me, man.
Got you. Okay, yeah. As long as we got a still of you. But yeah, overall though, I definitely agree with you. You know, when it comes to being a father or a dad, I think for a long time I was a dad. You know, I started off as a father. I was a single parent. My child's mother had sickle cell anemia, so she stayed in the hospital a lot. Something that I knew before we got into this situation, but I didn't fully understand what that meant. But I was a single parent. I'm gonna say that because I was singularly taking care of my daughter day by day, day for day. You know, on the majority time base, and it's hard. It's super hard. So I definitely give all the single mothers out there, you know, some props about, you know, for their, you know, dedication and their courage to be able to do everything they do while raising not just one, but maybe two or three children on their own, you know, maybe with the help of the grandparent or something like that. But overall, they go through a lot. And I'm talking about the ones who really go through it by themselves, not the ones who get stepfathers, you know, things of that nature. I'm talking about the ones that really raise their kids on their own with the absent father, and they try to do their best to do that. But overall, I think when it comes down to men, what we're failing to realize is that men play a very important role in, you know, their child's life. So it's like, again, I started off as a father, but with life issues and reoccurring issues in my life, I wasn't able to be the father that I think I needed to be. Yeah, I was the DNA, but the dad part, I think, was I started to miss out on because I was struggling with my own life and struggling with my own situations where I wasn't able to give my daughter the affection or the attention or the support that I felt like she needed, but I didn't neglect her in any form or fashion when it came to being there as much as possible, minus the altercations me and her grandmother was having. I always tried to keep a strong presence in her life throughout her lifespan. So um, I do give myself, and again, it's okay for fathers to give themselves credit for what they have done, but we also have to be real and say we can always do more, especially when it comes to raising these children.
James, I agree with you. Right? Some of those words there may pinch a little nerve in that heart a little bit, right? Because I'm sure, like with everything, we can all look back, man, woman, whatever, child, teenager, young adult, whatever it may be. We can always look back in life and say, man, I should have done this a little better. I should have done this. But at the end of the day, in your heart, you know what I'm saying? You're raising your daughter now. You're being the man that you want to be now. You may not have been the man that you wanted to be in the beginning, but that's because we were young and stupid, and you know what I'm saying? We did things that we thought were cool and really weren't cool, you know. So for me, it was one of those things that and Destiny probably is writing these words as I speak right now, but I stated to her, because my real father was not there for me through a large portion of my childhood. We have a great relationship today, and that's fine. But I made a promise that our kids with me would never ever look at me and say, "Dad, you weren't there." And if they never say those words to me, then I 100% won in my book as a father.
I totally agree. I mean, I can relate to that. I mean, overall, that is a very important role. I mean, that is a very important part of being a father is hearing that you did your best. You was there. I don't fault you for anything that is going wrong in my life at this point, but I can't say that you were an absent father. For me, and again, I'm pretty sure for a lot of parents, I don't think that I will not hear that at some point because I think children always need someone to blame, just out of curiosity, right? At what point could you where was your life in a situation where you felt like the lack of your real father not being there um, um, was a hindrance in some form or fashion into your growth as the man you are today. Not saying your stepfather didn't play a huge role, but can you say that, hey, I may have suffered because I was angry. I needed my father. I wanted my father, or at least I wanted to know, you know, about him, or about, his situation or something. I wish he was there for this football game. Something. Had that ever like came up to you, like came up in your growth?
James, we are going real deep today, my friend. So, I mean, no, here's the truth. Like, I don't look back and say that my dad hindered anything in my life or makes me regret anything in life, right? And the reason for that is because I had a dad, I had a grandfather, and I had a best friend, right? Like, my grandfather, no longer here, by far, my best friend, my father, my grandfather. And my dad, to this day, even when him and I talk, he knows that. So it's great that him and I, we build on the relationship that we have right now. And as a child growing up, with a mom that had me at 16 years old and working her tail off, and my grandfather set the foundations. If I got out of line, he was the one that I respected and I listened to. When I got in trouble with my mother and she said, "I'm calling your grandfather," I was sweating bullets, brother. Right. So, so I, I don't have any regrets with my father not being there for me in a certain period of time. He was there in the beginning. What I learned is that if my children ever were upset with me or didn't want to talk to me because I upset them or I did something, we may go 24 hours, but on that 25th hour, I'm showing up on their door because I do not want to miss 10 years, 10 days, 10 months of their world in their life. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, for me, my grandfather was there for me, took care of me, and again, like I said, he was my father. He was my best friend, just all around my superhero growing up.
Got you. And again, I mean, that's a plus. I didn't have my grandfather, in the absence of my father. So
different story, James. James, without him, without my grandmother, it's a different story. I mean, I've got friends now living in the same neighborhood that we grew up that drink, smoke, can't hold the job. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, I'm not saying that that's where I would be. I would hope that I have a stronger mind than that. But when you don't have a male figure or someone in your life, it seems like the trend is downward.
No, you're totally right. And that's one of the reasons I was going to speak on the fact that I didn't have a male figure at all. Like, in the male figure I did everything you just stated that we your friends are doing. So, yeah. Is it a shocker now that I'm in the position where I don't smoke and I don't like to drink? And I mean, no, because Bernadette tell me all the time that it's more of a trauma for me than anything. But I think I like that trauma. I think that trauma keeps me from being the people that I've been, I guess, running from my whole life. My father, and again, it's super important to have a father or a male figure in your life, but that male figure also has to come with their own father, because if they are traumatized, just going to fathers, whether it's your stepfather, your stepdad, or your stepfather, your father, then we have to also realize that that person is also coming from some type of trauma. That's the thing about it, is once I was able to realize that my father had his own, issues because of his fatherless life, being a child of the system, being adopted by a single parent, by a single woman who didn't have a husband. He grew up without a father figure. It starts to help. It helped me understand, where I come from, and where I could end up on that basis, because again, I had to accept the fact that he was a person who never got to deal with his trauma. So he turned to drugs and alcohol. My stepdad, even though he had both parents, the parent was still absent because he all he did was work while the mother stayed at home, and she wasn't always a kind woman because she had 4 or 5 of the kids that she has to discipline, and her having to deal with that by herself wasn't good. Plus the neighborhood they grew up in. So it's so many different factors that goes into what it takes to be that to be a positive person in your life. So if they don't have the environment, they don't have the family, they don't have the structure, yeah, I mean, people going to grow up traumatic. They're going to grow up really traumatic, and it's going to hinder them in how they raise their kids. My stepfather, he raised us, but he didn't raise his own daughter. He had a daughter that he never saw. He actually disowned for so long. And one day he finally decided to man up and say, okay, you are my child. I want to be there for you. But by that time, that girl had already turned 16, 17, and her life without him had already been pretty much downward spiral, because she needed a father figure. She needed somebody that she can connect with and show her respect and honesty, and how to be treated as a woman. So there's so many things that kids miss out on when they don't have a father figure, the right father figure, first of all, or the right male figure in their life that they can actually benefit from. So yeah, for me, I didn't grow up with a grandfather, a father. My uncles was in my life for a little while, but they was living their lives. They had their own kids. So my mother she was really a single mother for a long time, and it was detrimental in a lot of ways. But it also taught me some things that I picked up that I didn't want to be. I didn't want to be in a certain way. So I also learned from the things that weren't there, and I think a lot of people fail to realize that as well. So
yeah, James, let me ask you a question. Right, like, do you see that it's harder for men, dads, fathers to be whatever it is, to ask for help rather than women? Like that women can ask for help or reach out. Like, you know what I'm asking? Like, do you feel like men just sometimes like, no, that's a man thing. We're not going to ask this question. I'm not going to ask for help, and then they turn to alcohol and relate back to previous things in their childhood, stuff like that?
most definitely, because again, I think having children, if it wasn't accidental, a lot of men was forced into situations of fatherhood. Again, we got to think about, and I don't want to go in too deep into that, but we got to think about things like abortions were not popular. So once a man heard that his woman got pregnant, he was fully in. And back then, mothers like, well, you got her pregnant, you got to go be with her, you got to go raise them kids, which was
Go
called
get a job.
yeah, get the like we just talked about, get the job, be forced to live a life that um you wasn't prepared to live. So honestly, I think men are more pride driven. And I think that pride driven was based off of our society standards. I think our society has built up men to not be able to ask for help like women, because we separate how important a man is. We separate how important a man is, while we try to at some point make the woman more important in the child's life than men. Oh, we got you back.
I'm
Okay,
working.
so yeah, so I think what society has done was make women more important than men in the eyes of the children or eyes of society when it comes to raising kids. If you look at statistics has never favored men as a leading parent. 20% of men are single parents today. 20%. They would rather put a child in foster care before they give that child to the father of that child. So they see women being more of a single parent mindset than having a man step up and say, hey, that's my child, let me help take care. Men can't get child support when they go to court, and win custody. It takes an arm and a leg for a man to get support raising that child from a woman, financially anyways, because we are not set up for men to take care of children. There's a negative connotation that comes with that. But overall, when our society proves to us how we minimize men. when you take your daughter, when Sierra was 10 and you was dropping her off at school, or you went to parent teacher conferences without your wife, if you ever went with that without Destiny, I don't know if you ever did or not, but oh, it's so great to see you come with your daughter. Oh, you're so nice that I see a man dropping his daughter. You're such a good father for being able to bring her from to school and pick her up, or take her to her soccer game or her volleyball game or her basketball game. Oh, you're such an active father. The reason why they praise men like that, because the number of men who are actually doing that is so low. It's a shocker when you see it. But women don't get that praise. Women don't get that praise. Women get, oh, that's what you're supposed to do as a mother. Oh, you're supposed to be doing that as a mother. Well, okay, but what do men supposed to be doing as fathers, other than coming home and being the disciplinary figure in their children's life? They only talk to the kids when the mother says, well, little Jimmy or little Timmy, he got in trouble today at school. Well, I have a conversation with him. No, that's the type of fatherhood we have to get away from. We have to be a more active parent as fathers. But yeah, men are afraid to ask for help because they don't ever see themselves being an active parent like that. They wasn't taught how to be an active parent to that extent. We'll just, well, let's see what the mama can get. Let's see what the mama can do, because the society is set up that way.
James, I will tell you a funny story, man. When they were in camps and Father's Day weekend came, right? Mother's Day weekend comes, I pick up the kids and they got these little brown bags, and it's all great. It's for Mother's Day, and it kind of feeds on what you're talking about, the conference. So a couple of weeks later, Father's Day comes, right? And I go on a Friday to pick the kids up. I didn't want to go on Friday and pick the kids up because I thought, okay, they're going to have gifts and stuff, so I'll let my wife go. Okay. So I show up there. We're walking out, and I'm like, did you guys forget anything? And they both look at me like, no, Dad, we're good. I'm like, are you sure you didn't forget something? I asked 3 times in 100 feet. Like, I said, okay, get in the car. I'm like, no, this isn't going to work for me. I walk back inside and I go, listen, I think my kids forgot my Father's Day gift. Oh, and they're like, sorry, Mr. White, we didn't do Father's Day gifts because some kids don't have fathers.
Wow.
And I was like, do they have a grandfather? Do they have somebody, a brother or a sister? A brother or a sister could step up and be like a father figure. And I was like, I went home and I told my wife, I was like, that was probably one of the maddest moments I've ever been in my life. And again, I'm not expecting anything, but I was like, I don't need the grill or the coat jacket or something like that, man. A handwritten note. My son did it yesterday for me. He handwritten my note. I will keep that over a Hallmark card all day long, And but yeah, that was one of those moments, man, where I was like, oh, all right. It's just like the teacher saying, hey, Dad, it's so nice to see you involved in your kid's life. It was that way that day, picking my kids up from school, and there was no Father's Day gift. So
yeah, because again, it's not looked at in our society that it's necessary to even have a father. Mother can take care of it. Mom can take care of it. But let's talk about the real. Honestly. They found that fathers' absence was the only disadvantage on individual levels with significant effects on gun carrying violence, drug trafficking violence, and co-occurring behavior. Which when people get in trouble, they repeat those acts because there was never a father there to properly correct that behavior. When or overly correct, because we also have to realize some parents or some fathers overreact. We yell at our children and then don't explain to them why we yell. We just yell. We just constantly bicker. We don't give our kids, well, I love you. I care about you, or congratulations, you're doing so well. It's always, okay, like that's what they supposed to do. We give that, you supposed to be a good child. You're supposed to be, a child of decency, but we don't really fully invest into giving our children the proper positive reinforcements, over the amount of negative reinforcements we implement. I know a lot of parents, not saying all of them are good parents, but they do their best, right? That's what they do their best. And honestly, are those a lot of kids are going to grow up neglectful? I mean, not neglectful, but uh they're gonna grow up with this mindset that their parent didn't do enough for them. Resentful is what I'm trying to go for. They're gonna
Yeah,
grow
but again,
resentful.
and at that age, at that time, right? Then it's like they want to pass the blame,
They
right?
want
They
to pass
want
the
to
blame.
pass all their bad behavior onto the
The
parents.
one parent that was there, and then again, yes, are there women out here who are living lives that they probably shouldn't be living because they didn't have a father there that could actually make them feel, loved, or make them feel like they was worthy, or help them gain their value in our society. I mean, we can look at so many different aspects of, okay, maybe this would have went different if the father was present. And then they say, well, the father was present. Okay, well, let's talk about that. Well, the father, he took advantage of his father role, because there's fathers who could take advantage of their father roles. It's all over, our statistics. But when it comes down to it, Daniel, there's kids who are 2 times more likely to drop out of high school because they don't have a parent. 2 times more likely.
Of course, because they're looking for some type of role model. And I'm just painting the picture is it's just mom in the picture right now, right? And so when they go to school and they see the bigger kid, whether he's doing good or bad, right? They leech on to one. Okay. And they're going to go that route. And then, if you meet one bad apple, you're going to meet four or
Multiple,
five
yeah.
other bad apples because that's who they hang out with. And then you get some comfort from that. So absolutely, I can definitely see that dropout rate, unemployment rate, drug use, all going up without that male figure in their life. And again, I'm not taking away from the women because I don't want any bad emails or bad remarks, because there are single moms that handle it and take care and produce amazing men and women. But I think the numbers don't lie. If there's not a male figure there to balance a productive, loving, caring woman, you can see it. The writing's on the wall. What happens?
And the reason why we have two different type of figures, male and female, of mother and father, is because we can have both parents reacting the exact same way. Now, there are supportive roles, but having them react. Just imagine if you had an abusive father and an abusive mother, like they abuse you the exact same way. Not only did the mom whoop your ass and beat you halfway bloody, but the father came home and inflicted the exact same pain on your behavior. That's not good balance. Now, if a mother can be like, well, listen, I don't know how your father's going to feel, but I'm telling you, he's not going to be happy, but overall, I think you deserve a harsh punishment, but I can't tell you how he's going to react. But also be there if he overreacts. Also be the person, say, okay, listen, I understand you punishing that child, that girl, or that boy, but this is also too much punishment. This is too much. This is overbearing to an extent. Not to step on his toes, but to help create balance within that disciplinary structure.
Could not agree with you more, James. It was funny growing up in raising our children. It was Destiny taking care, and Sierra and I were best friends. And Destiny was like, I'm raising a strong, independent woman. That's what I'm going to do. And then when we had Sage, it was the opposite role. Like mom was the punisher, or I was a punisher, and Sage was like mom's little boy, right? Like
Yeah.
individual. They were like really close, same personalities and stuff like that. So it's funny how you as a parent take a certain role, and like you said, you have to counterbalance each other. Otherwise, it is a
Indeed.
mess, right?
It
Or
does.
you're gonna have a lot of bruises, right? So especially if mom's spanking you, then dad's coming home and spanking you as well. So
Exactly. But it helps create that counterbalance. B. Walker says the reason we have all these hypersexual women in this generation is because of the absence of a father. And I would agree to a major extent, because I think, again, like I was just mentioning, a lot of these younger generation of women are overly sexualized because they didn't understand the dynamic of what their sexuality and their essence of a woman was valued at. Now it's being put on a chopping block and pretty much being hacked at, with no real outcome. So I definitely agree with that, Bernadette. She also said, my trauma doesn't keep me from an occasional glass of cognac. You can't let trauma ruin you. Yeah, but your trauma at the same time, could have caused you to go towards that uh once in a while occasional glass of cognac because of the pain that people carry, and it's not and again, I don't think it's the drinking or whatnot that creates uh or exposes trauma. I think it's the after effect of that drink, of what people do after they consume their toxins, whether it's drugs or alcohol or whatever. Marijuana. I was heavy marijuana smoker, and I got that because again, I was fighting depression. I was fighting situations where I was dealing with trauma, and I've seen people drink. I've seen people who have undeniable health issues who continue to drink and continue to smoke and continue to do drugs because they trauma is more painful than their actual health issues. So they just need to get rid of the trauma. They need to get rid of the memories and the pain. So I totally understand where you're coming from with that one, Bernadette.
I think we're freezing up again, James. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you, but you
Okay.
froze up on me again.
We just have to reset the camera here.
Okay.
Yeah, man. I mean, in those situations, it makes it or breaks a man or a woman in being a parent, right? And especially a father in those tough circumstances, it really can break them and push them away from actually becoming a better man, a better father. Because again, we've spoken about it here, is that when you show up to the conference, they're like, oh, it's so nice to see a dad here involved in your kid's life. That's a positive response, but it's a negative towards fathers and dads and stuff like that. There are some amazing fathers and dads out there that that do step up, but there's plenty out there that need to take a deep look inside and realize, like, you stop being selfish and thinking only about yourself, because if you lay down in that bed and you produce this young mind, you have a responsibility to take care of that. Indeed. Or relinquish those rights and let some man. I've got a good friend of mine, can't have children, and but he is the best damn stepfather I've ever seen in my life, and he is a father, like they call him dad, all of that stuff. So, it takes a real man to step up to the plate.
Yeah, and again, speaking of that, raising, and again, if the father is actually in that child's life, father is actually in that child's life, and that father is hesitant to allow another man to be there for that child when he can, and he's done started another family. He done had 2 or 3 other kids, and he's out living his life with another woman, but he refuses to allow his first or child's mother or the other child's mother to allow that father to step up to the plate, or that stepfather to step up to the plate, especially if they're younger, to be the replacement, quote unquote, or step in parent to help fill that gap while they help co-parent. The thing I feel like is people are too emotionally attached, right? Not saying that you shouldn't be, but when it comes to the stepfather, I think in any sense of the matter, every time or whenever my child's mother had another guy in her life who could possibly have been a stepfather to my daughter, I never had an issue with trying to meet this person and see what type of man he was going to be, and if he was going to treat my daughter appropriately. I didn't have a problem with him saying, hey, I want to take her to the movies or go to a recital, or us being in the same room for a birthday party, for her birthday party, or for some type of occasion that calls for everybody to be there. I think overall, most people harness these ill intents against the person they have the child by, and it causes a negative rift in co-parenting or having a blended family where everybody kind of gets along, because one of them still have deep down emotions for the person that they're no longer with, which causes a negative father, stepfather, or just overall mixed parenting situation for the child, when a child would love to have all of them coexist in the same atmosphere. Would you not agree?
Absolutely. Wouldn't you want two loving dads, two loving mothers, two loving grandparents, grandma, grandpa? I mean, like, life would be fantastic. Um, I think, James, in this conversation, it's weird how like things come about here, because we're talking about the disposable father. On Saturday evening, it was me, the wife, and my daughter. We went to a birthday party for one of the mortgage brokers that we work with. And as we were driving home, we were talking, because we've got some things going on in our family right now that that we're trying to step up and be that figure. And it was like, people think that to be a great father or a great mother, you've got to make all this money. You got to be rich, or otherwise you can't do it. And that's not true. Like, all you need to be is be present, loving, caring, understanding, and provide guidance. And that child, that young teenager, that young adult can be very successful without money. And I just think sometimes we get caught up, and I've seen it growing up as a kid. It's like, okay, I need to go to work, I need to do this, and you're not there. That Just because you make a lot of money doesn't mean that you're a great father or a
Right.
great mother, right? You've
Exactly.
got to have a presence in that child's life
Totally
to
agree.
make a difference. Learn from your mistakes, right? Like, that's what you should be teaching your children, is that, okay, I skipped school, didn't go, and I went to this party and got in trouble. Somebody fell. They went through the sliding glass door. Like, hey, talk about those conversations. It's okay to have those conversations, and let your children some of the things that you didn't do, or that you did that you shouldn't have done. Because again, they're probably, as long as you're honest and open with them, they're probably not going to go out there and do those things. It's when you hide it,
Yep.
they're like, I heard little conversations, I'm going to go out and do that.
I totally agree. I totally agree with what you're saying, because even again, I related a lot of things to myself. I have friends that had, both parents, and but both parents were super, you know, reserved on a level where it was, we go to work, we buy you the things you need, you go to school, we don't have real conversations with you. We don't want to have real conversations with you because it's uncomfortable to have real conversations with you. So we just let you grow and see us not love each other the way we supposed to, and we just force ourselves through our life and our situation, and they don't understand how that affect the children. So I think being open, being honest, having real conversations with your children. If the relationship with the parents aren't as solid, and they can hear you arguing at night, they can, like, people. This is the thing. It's like when parents act like that they live in this soundproof house, and they tell their kids to go to their rooms because they don't need to see them arguing, but we can hear you through the damn walls. It's not like you're going down the street and under a bridge to yell and argue. You're doing it in the same damn house. So, and it also comes, I think we had this conversation before as well, when we don't tell the children that things aren't great, when we don't tell the children that, okay, we're having trouble paying the bills this month, we can't do this. We keep those and try to live this facade of a lifestyle that creates a different, approach in that child's growth as well, because they're looking at it as like, this is not a family. Everybody's doing whatever they need to do, and we come together just to pay the bills, or we come together to argue. So for me, it's super. I understand it to a maximum, because I've seen it in so many different scales on how children are affected, even if they got one parent, two parents. Because I've had friends who had both parents, and one of the father was a cheater, but everybody in the streets knew he was a cheater, but the mom ignored it. But even though she knew it, it affected the daughter, it affected the son. So those things still have a play, even if you have both parents at home. If that's not a healthy environment, it's just not a healthy environment. But overall, the impact of a fatherless home, and we just mentioned a minute ago, 2 times likely to drop out of high school, 7 times more likely to get pregnant at a young age. 85% of the children with mental disorders are people or children that come from single parent homes. 90% of children that are runaways or comes from fatherless homes. 82% of children that are incarcerated come from fatherless homes. This is not something we can make up. This is not numbers we're making up just to put on a nice show. These are actually Googleable or actually researchable statistics that you can find anywhere, you know. And it's daunting to me that we are not making fathers as important. Now let me just give you a scenario, and let me ask you this, right? Why is it that women get maternity leave but men don't?
I will say this: when we had Sierra, I did get maternity leave from my company, but
Okay.
it's not standard anymore. I don't think the company, I don't want to name the company or anything like that, but I don't think they do it anymore for men, right? I lost my mind. I was like, this is 12 weeks of craziness. Like, I think I went back to work at like week 7 or whatever it was. I just couldn't deal with it. But yeah, I mean, right now it's just not normal, right? Like, unless something is wrong with the mom, like she's bedridden or something like that, really, dad gets a day or two off and back to work. Mom is the one that is going to recover and take care of the child for maternity leave and stuff like that. So I don't really know why that is a thing, right? I don't know.
Well, they give, most of the time they give women maternity leave over men. It's basically because women are natural nurturers. They quote unquote feel like the woman is the most important thing or object or subject in the newborn's life because they naturally have an attachment to that child. Um, Men don't have a natural attachment to their children. It's weird, but we have to grow that attachment. So for some men, it can happen at the beginning of the pregnancy or once they actually hold the child and hear the child, cry, and they try to soothe the child. Some men, they get the baby is crying, they're like, oh, baby's crying, let me hand it to the mom. I can't deal with this. It's not natural for a man to be a comforter to that degree. I got you back on, brother. So
Awesome.
it's not natural for a woman to be in, I mean, for a man to be a nurturer to that degree. But for a man, he has to overall drop his testosterone levels because every time you have a child, men don't know this, but every time you have a child, your testosterone level drops because you have to not be so aggressive in that sense, and you become more of a nurturer because you grow to love your child, you grow to love your seed. So at that point you become more of you get most of your fix from your dopamine kicks every time you see your child crawl or walk or hee hee ha ha gee 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 gee, so at that point you become a fixture, and that becomes a fixture in your dopamine that that triggers that emotion of care, that emotion of I need to be a protector for this child because this is mine, this is a part of me, and I want to see this child grow to be something great. But again, if you don't gain that attachment to that child early, or if you're a parent that didn't show up to the birth of that child, you don't get that. You have to be there. You, like you said, once you didn't want to miss a doctor's appointment. I didn't want to miss a doctor's appointment. So I totally understand where you're coming from. I started building that attachment with my child early when she was still in the womb. So for a lot of men, they don't get that because they're not showing up to the births. They're not taking the ladies to the doctors. These ladies have to go on their own. It's just creating a constant cycle of disconnect. And when they try to connect, it's too late. It's just it's a standard. Yeah, this is my daughter. I have a child over here and I have a child over there. But other than that, it is a disconnect. But men should get maternity leave to have time to create that connection, because that's 12 weeks that a woman get to create a connection and you don't. The only time you get the connection is by being upset and frustrated that you got to wake up in the middle of the night to feed the baby, knowing you got to go to work at 6 o'clock in the a.m. So now you're frustrated. Not saying that you're not supporting, but you don't gain the same connection that woman get over that time frame because you're occupied by making money. You're occupied by taking care of the family. So if a man took 6 weeks and a woman took 6 weeks, they split that time up. I think we'll have a better nurturing structure when it comes to men and women in this society that we call America, or overall global society that we call the Earth. So,
no, I do agree with that, James. You know, it's things do need to change, right?
it's antiquated. I think a lot of shit antiquated.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it, it's the most rewarding job friendship I've ever had in my life, right? When I look at our kids and they're doing things, whether it's mowing the yard, it's helping mom and cook dinner. You know, Friday we were making pizzas and we were all working together and stuff like that. Like, I don't know where I would be without them in my life, you know. And I would say to some of the dads, stepdads, fathers, grandfathers, stuff like that are feeling a disconnect, speak up. Like, you know, don't run to the liquor store or down the street and grab something because you know you don't want to speak up. We have to speak up and we have to speak our voices and be a presence in these young minds' lives because we do have an impact, whether you want to believe it or not, or you want to think that mom or grandmother or you know whoever can take care of themselves. If you're a father, it's easy to become one. It's harder to maintain that title and have the respect from your children.
And I think that's what fathers garner. They garner that respect, but again, what are you doing to garner that respect? And again, we've had this conversation before where we talked about, speaking up and being honest. I think that's one thing we have to do is be honest with not just ourselves. Have that honest conversation with yourself first, and I'm not saying in a crazy way, but sit down and just think about your path, think about your traumas, think about everything that got you where you were and where you are, and then go have that same conversation with your child. Go have that conversation with your children. Go have that same conversation with your child's mother. If y'all don't have a great relationship, garner one. Figure out how to garner one. And the only way you can garner that is by being honest. If you were the bad seed in that relationship, admit being that bad seed and okay, you messed up, but now you want to be, needs to be what you are, which is a father. And honestly,
and James, and just ask.
Ask.
Hey, what am I doing, James? What am I doing wrong, Dad? What am I doing wrong? What you know to your child? What
be okay with the answer,
and be okay with the answer, right? Like, be okay with it. Like, accept it. If you don't like the answer you get, don't jump down their throat. Don't be upset with them. Be like, okay, take a deep look. It's like kind of setting a goal and not hitting that goal. Don't look at it as a loss. Look at it like, okay, how do I change this process so that I never don't hit this goal?
Right. This is an opportunity to pivot. This is an opportunity, but to be something greater for your children. I've seen parents who may have been alcoholics or drug addicts garner good relationships with their kids later in life. Once they was able to kick their habit, once they was able to say, hey, I messed up. Mother, daughter, father, son, mother, son, no matter what the connection is, just admit that you were wrong. You had your own issues, but don't blame your issues. Don't pin it all on your issues because you had a part in that. You had a part to choose to be a different person. You didn't, but now you are choosing. Whether it's too late or not, you're doing what you need to do to say, hey, I need to right these wrongs. And if I can't right these wrongs with you, just know don't do what I did to your children. At least give your child that opportunity to understand that you did these things because you didn't understand your choices. And I'm trying to help you understand that it can happen to you, but try to notice it early. But with that being said, man, it was a great show. And
oh man, I loved it, man. I loved it.
And I want to say happy Father's Day again. I want to say a happy extended Father's Day to the fathers because
extended Father's Day
because again, We can praise the few fathers that are on social media that we see, we know, but there's a world of men out there who are not only not getting the opportunity to be great fathers because of the system that we live in, but they're being taken out of a good situation because they have a different opinion than a other parent. And I'm not blaming mothers, but I'm blaming our society standards and outlook on our fathers. People who have children need to change. It really does. As a father myself to my daughter, I know what I went through. I know how hard it was, and it shouldn't have been that hard just to be a parent. But we make it way too hard to be a parent in this world we call America. So
I would just say on that note, be present, be there, be now. I mean, do not walk away at all, my friend. James, I love the conversation after Father's Day. Brother, happy belated Father's Day to you.
You as well.
And I'm out.
Thank you, man. See you soon. Everybody have a great one. Until next time, this was the closing table.